systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? We're back talking some fights. A week off for Thanksgiving. Hope everybody out there had happy holidays. Enjoyed it with the family, watching some football. I'm excited to be back, Big Marley. 3 cards to finish the year before you get the nice month break during the holidays, Christmas, the New Year's. Always nice there, but 3 fun cards. Headed to Austin, Texas, the Moody Center. And, man, the last time they were there, I was lucky to be in attendance. The best card I have ever been to. I don't think that'll ever change. It was finish after finish after finish. The crowd was nuts in the college arena. So attendance, or it's not like the NBA arenas. It's so big. You hear it more. The energy was nuts. The card was nuts. I'm hoping the same thing. 8 of the 12 fights expected to finish in this one. So I'm expecting violence, 100K up top. Let's go, baby. I'm excited. What's going on, Marley?
Not much, man. Lost my internet this week or yesterday at my house. So I'm over at my dad's for the podcast today. Don't have my usual setup. Trying to tweet out the link right now, but ready to go. Hopefully we make some money on this card and it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, you bet. You want to, before we get into it, do you want to go back there, step behind and show us how to throw a little dart real quick and get a bullseye?
Maybe some other time. I'm a little rusty.
Little rusty. Doesn't want to do that. What's going on, Robert Pena, Mike Carr, Mark, Tweezy in here. Tweezy, the man of all sports, Sean V, Ben in here as well. Appreciate everyone hanging out. People watching live, appreciate it. A lot watch on playback as well. Do us a favor right in the beginning. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And if you do want to join us at SHIPITNation.com, get projections, ownership for MMA, including NBA going on, NFL going on, NHL going on, fight rankings, tier rankings, core reports, everything you need for MMA, as well as all those other sports, and a great Discord community. Head over to SHIPITNation.com. We do have a weekly membership as well. That does not include Discord. That comes out to $25. I recommend getting in the Discord. It's a huge part of our process. NBA's been on fire. Nice little fun slate today as well. And again, fun 3 MMA cards to finish out the year. So head over to SHIPITNation.com. Get in the Discord. Let's talk some fights, Marley. Again, 12 fights. Any basic or any like broad slate overview? Again, 8 of the 12 fights expected to finish. Pricing seems solid. A lot of live underdogs, I think, excited people or ones that people are excited to play, which I think makes it pretty fun. I think ownership relatively spread out. We don't have it up yet on the site. It will be though, 4 Eastern card. What's your initial thoughts though?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I liked it more with 13 fights, but I feel like just right off the bat, there's 3 fights I don't care for very much, and then there's 3 fights I'm going to be close to all in on, and then around that, it's just kind of plug in what fits. But haven't made any lineups yet. It's just kind of all going through the thoughts today, but I'm excited to build later. Hopefully my internet will be up so I could do it at home with 2 monitors in front of me. But either way, I'm excited to build. I think I'm going to do 150 again. Been having some success with that, trying to get on your level and Hebrew Cheetah's level. So hopefully we can keep getting better.
Yeah, Hebrew Cheetah's level, not mine. My level's been donation cities recently. You've been up top, Hebrew Cheetah as well. I need to get on y'all's level. I'm excited for this one, though. I'm the great in here. Scary Creations in here. Rummy, what's going on, Rummy? Camera Bro, appreciate those words as well. Hope everybody out there having a good one. Whaler as well. Our man Rio in here as well. Probably going to ship tomorrow. All right, let's go bottom to top as always. First fight of the night. Wondering if this is one of the 3 that you have zero interest in. Actually, before what you mentioned, it was a 13-fight card. Everyone made weight. Everyone did make weight. The Steve Garcia-Costa fight was canceled before weigh-ins even. So 13 down to 12. Everyone made weight, though. 12 is the magic number. I'm good with 12. I'll fire tomorrow normal. All right, first fight on the card. Jamie Lynn Horth taking on Veronica Hardy. 8,500 Horth, 7,700 for Hardy. Looking at the odds, Horth about minus 190. Hardy plus 165 on the way back. This is one of the 4 fights expected to go the distance, plus 195 to finish. A lot of the win or finish equity on the horse side at plus 260, Hardy plus 650. So my quick breakdown in this one is a lot of recency bias on the Hardy side, who dominated awful Miller, Juliana Miller, who's probably going to be out of the UFC pretty soon. Hardy was able to get takedowns. Miller not strong at all for the division. Lynn Horst going to be the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. A lot of line movement in this one too. So Horth open minus 175. Hardy got money and it got down. These lines have been out for a while because there wasn't UFC last week. So there's been more action on these lines earlier than usual. But Hardy got money all the way to a pick'em. So minus 175 Horth down to a pick'em. And then this past week, Horth got a lot of money. Now she's sitting around minus 190. I think she'll be pretty low owned. Again, I'm going to look a lot at your ownership. I mean, you like Sheets, shout out to Sheets. He's been tracking ownership across the industry, and he said that yours has been the best one. So I think Horth will be pretty low owned. I don't know how people can get to her. If that's the case, I mean, I'll use her as a difference maker. Minus 190, good win odds for the price. Finish equity is fine. And I think she can stuff the takedowns, which I think is Hardy's path to victory. Probably win a decision, but she's low owned, 12 fight card. I need to get difference. I can get behind that. So she's my preference. Hardy, if she does win, probably scores okay, but I don't love it for 7,700. What do you got?
Yeah, this is one of the fights I just don't care for very much. I don't know that I'm going to completely fade it because it's the first fight of the night. I hate not having the fighter that gets 100 points. So maybe I'll keep him in my 150, but it's not going to make my single entry. Going to try and fade it with 20 or less. But I think we're going to need a lot of wrestling from the winner in order to have any chance at 90 plus, 100 plus points in this one.
You don't think volume?
Primarily
you don't think Horth can get like 130 significant strikes, maybe something along those lines, and get enough at 95?
Maybe.
No.
I think she's struggling to get 10x, to be honest with you, but I do think it's in play. I just don't see her being like a super high volume striker. I think she is the more powerful striker. She's going to be the bigger fighter, probably the one pushing forward, harder to hit. I would say Hardy's like, she's got bad striking defense, but I think her striking offense is decent. I think it's pretty close on the feet. But I think it's just going to come down to, for DraftKings, who can get the takedowns and how much time can they spend in top control. And that's the way to their ceiling. I just don't really like either side. I'd rather pay less for Hardy. But I do think Horth will be very low owned. I think she does make sense for a GPP ownership type of play because she is the bigger one. If she's the one getting the takedowns, which I think Hardy's the one more likely to want to go for takedowns. But I've seen them both have success, I feel like, in top control. I've seen them both struggle on bottom. So I just don't have any real lean on how this fight's going to play out. So I'm just going to try and stay away from it and hope that whoever wins ends up winning with like 65 points and it just doesn't even matter. But like I mentioned, I think Horth is in play for ownership, and I think Hardy is in play just as a live dog.
Yeah, no, that's how I have it as well. In the slate plan, I have Horth is overweight, Hardy is underweight. I wanted to keep Hardy in the pool because I think she will be the one shooting for takedowns. I don't think she'll have much success. I think Horth, just the bigger fighter, can muscle her. But if I'm wrong on that, I mean, plus 170, the odds aren't crazy there. She did get a lot of money last week before this week, minus 175 all the way down to a pick'em. So I don't know. The line movement, though, as well as her very low ownership for Horth, I mean, minus 190 for 8,500, plus 270 inside the distance. I can get behind all that when I'm looking at really low ownership. On a card I know I'll be playing Armin Sarukian and eating some other chalk. So I'll use her as a difference maker. But also we'll have plenty of lineups that don't have this fight as well. Again, one of the four expected to go the distance. And not much ownership on this fight compared to others on this 12-fight card. What's up, G. Kiefer? Good luck this weekend, man. Next fight on the card, Wellington Turman taking on Jared Gooden. 9,000 for Turman, 7,200 for Gooden. The odds, Turman minus 190, very similar to last fight. Gooden plus 165 on the other side. This fight plus 100 coin flip for it to finish. Turman plus 225 inside the distance. Jared Gooden plus 300. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I just kind of see this as a striker versus grappler matchup. I mean, Turman can strike, but if you told me that this is going to be a striking match, I favor Gooden in that. I like him to be the better overall striker. I like him to be the more dangerous striker. But Gooden's biggest weakness is being put on his back and just not knowing how to get up. And I think Turman is in play to just lay on this guy for 3 rounds. He's also a good grappler. I think he's in play for a submission. But Gooden's never been submitted, so it's hard to predict that to happen. I think it would be more likely Turman winning 2 or 3 rounds on the ground. But if Turman wins, his path to victory does score well. I just don't think that he's a good enough wrestler to be a 2-1 or a bigger favorite in this one, because I'm not confident he can go out there and get the takedowns to be able to lay on Gooden. So I'm going to take the underdog in this one. I think Gooden can stuff a couple takedowns, land some big shots. I like him to put Turman away. So I'm going to have some Gooden ownership. I will be overweight because I'm picking the knockout. But I think we could also see a striking match where Gooden wins 2 rounds and he still only puts up 50 points in a decision win. So I'm not going to be, too overweight to Gooden. I think a good 30 or so percent of my lineup sounds good. And then I'd probably want to come back with like 20% or so of Turman, just because he does have a path to victory that does score well on DraftKings. It's just I don't like his wrestling. I like his grappling more than his wrestling. And Gooden hadn't been submitted yet. So I'm going to take him to keep it on the feet and get a knockout.
Yeah, you and I think see this fight similar in a lot of this fight was really tough for me in DFS because if you just look at the props, a coin flip to finish over 2.5 is minus 155 though. If you tell me this fight goes over 2.5 rounds, I'm pretty confident this fight's not optimal. I mean, if Jared Gooden wins, it's probably, you tell me that it's probably a decision where he lands the harder shots. You would hope he gets knockdowns, but maybe 80, he outstrikes Turman 80-70 or whatever it may be. It's really boring. If Turman wins the decision, it could be wrestling and just top control. I mean, if he's on top forever, though, maybe submission, at that point. I don't know. At 9K, I would like others in the range more. So I know I don't want to get too crazy on it, but Turman, at least in his price range, he can't be too highly owned. Arman Tsarukyan's 200 more. There's Jalen Turner in the range. I mean, the top tier is loaded. Zach Reese, a lot of good top tier plays. Arman Tsarukyan, obviously the obvious one. So for 200 less, I just don't think Wellington Turman can get much ownership. So again, a low-ish owned difference maker. I don't expect him as low owned as Horth, but he has upside. He's a good grappler. He trains with Glover Pereira. He's only 27 years old at his proper weight class at 170. There's a lot I can get behind for Turman. So I'm picking him. I prefer that side, but yeah, with the price, I'll have some good in. I don't want too much of either of these guys at the end of the day, though. I'm good matching the field somewhere around there. Some fights I'm good taking that approach because at the end of the day, who knows? I don't know how this fight's going to go down. I mean, 2 guys that I don't really look. I think Turman's probably a little underrated. Been in the UFC for a minute, some bad losses, but he's still young. But yeah, I don't love this fight too much. What's going on, Siggy?
I am a little biased too. I'm friends with Best Fight Picks. Best Fight Picks is friends with Gooden. I've had some podcasts where I've been on with Gooden before. So a little biased, but at the same time, I like him to have the striking edge.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like how you mentioned that and say that. We all have our little bias. At the end of the day, if you didn't think Gooden would win, you would say you didn't think Gooden would win either. So I love that as well. Let's keep it rolling. What's going on, Sheets? Next fight on the card. Rodolfo Bellato taking on Ihor Peteria. The highest priced and the biggest favorite on the card is Bellato. Peteria, the biggest dog, obviously. So 9,600, 6,600. Bellato minus 425. So it is nice. The biggest favorite. Nothing above minus 500 on a 12-fight card, which is nice. Maybe you can leave a little bit of money. Ihor plus 325. This fight's minus 550 to finish. Minus 250 is Bellato inside the distance. Ihor plus 400. I mean, Bellato by whatever he wants. Ihor, I think, is pretty much big shot or bust. He's got to land him. He's got to bonk him early. Otherwise, he's probably going to get – I mean, taken down is the easiest path and get mauled there. But I think Bellato can knock Ihor out as well. I just don't think he's really good. But, yeah, at the end of the day, so what do you think Bellato's ownership? And I know we don't have it up yet. But that's the only way I could get behind Ihor. But 9,600, Zach Reese for 300 less. Arman Tsarukyan, that high 8K range would turn. What do you think? Because that's a big question of mine.
I think I haven't done ownership yet. I'm probably going to start a little bit north of 40 on Bellato and a little bit south of 20 on Ihor.
Yeah, I think Ihor might be 12 or something, 13. I don't know. We're only at 12 fights. Bellato, though, over 40, which would make me have more interest, I guess, in Ihor than I think he gets wiped. But we always talk, or a couple of us talk about it a lot. If you're going to play the underdog, I guess I should say, you, Sheets. I say it and I don't do it. But if you take an underdog or a punt, Do it in a fight that's, if it wins, it's probably going to score well, and do it against someone very chalky. And you have both those boxes checked in this one. So I guess talking out loud, the slate plan will be up. I had him as a fade. I thought about it, but if you think it's 40 something, and I think Ihor is going to be low owned, yeah, maybe I have a little bit, but I think he gets slept anyway, and I'm probably burning money anyway. What do you got though?
Yeah, it's one of the fights that I'm gonna have in like 3/4 of my lineup, something like that. I think. All right, so I'm not really sold on this Bellato guy. I think he is probably better than Ihor, the better striker, the more durable striker with more power. But I don't really know what happens on the ground. Really, either way, if either guy is going for takedowns, I feel like they could have some success there, or possibly get a submission. Ihor has so much more experience, not good experience, but he's been in a lot more fights. And since I'm not so sold on Bellato, I think the line is like 10% too wide, to be honest with you. So I think that Ihor is very in play as a low-owned underdog, because this fight could just be a phone booth fight, and one of them goes down. I don't think it's 85% of the time going to be Bellato that gets his hand raised. So I think I'm planning on matching the field like 40 to 50% Bellato, but I'll be overweight to the field. I'll have like 25-30% Ihor. So who's going to be in my single entry? I don't know. I mean, Bellato will be in more lineups, but I'm going to have more leverage on Ihor. So I'm fine with Ihor ending up in that single entry if that's what gets me up to Arman and whoever the hell else I want in my lineup. But at the same time, this is just a fight that I think ends early. Either guy can get knocked out. And since a lot more people are going to be on Bellato, maybe my leverage play is my preferred play of the two. But I'm picking Bellato to get a knockout.
Yeah, I was updating if he's going to be over 40, which I think you're probably right, because there's enough live dogs down here like Fig, Dariush is going to get some good, and like the odds are close enough on these guys where people aren't going to be. It's not like we're starving for salary. You can get to 9,600 minus 250 inside the distance. I'll be curious. Ownership's really tricky. I'm confident Arman Sarukian is going to be the highest owned. Outside of that, though, I think it's going to be pretty spread out. So good 12-fight card for ownership. 13.
Yeah, I'm thinking Arman and Bellato will be close, like 45 each, around.
Okay.
50.
Yeah, that makes me definitely up. I think I'm going to get some Ihor. I still don't want a ton because I think he's going to get wiped, but it would make me also like Bellato even less. Yeah, we'll keep it rolling, though, because this upper tier is very interesting. Next fight on the card. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out. Like button helps us out a ton. And if you want to join us at SHIPITNation.com, head over weekly, monthly, 6-month, annual packages. Check it out. NFL, NBA going on right now. NHL going on. MMA. We got you covered over here. Next fight on the card. Drakkar Klose, Joe Selecki, 8,300 Klose, 7,900 for Selecki. Looking at the odds, the closest line fight on the card, Klose about minus 125 to minus 135. Selecki plus 110 on average on the way back. This fight plus 110 to finish. Selecki plus 275, Klose plus 260 inside the distance. So this was the fight that gave me so much trouble because I could see it going what's his nuts? Selecki, clear path to the optimal. Get it on the mat. Control, top control, submission, takedowns, all of that. Drakkar Klose, I think, is pretty clear. Stuff the takedowns. Start feeling yourself. Put the volume there. He has night and day striking advantage over him. Or it's Selecki gets into boring fights. He makes fights boring. Drakkar Klose is scared of the takedowns. He plays it at range and more safe. And these guys pitter-patter for 15 minutes, and the score is awful. I was leaning, I still am leaning decision in the ladder, and like this fight not being optimal. But now with only 12 fights on the card, like I think this was the big stance I was going to have. I don't know how much ownership I was going to get, but people are going to land in the mid-tier range. And there's good inside the distance props. But now with only 12 fights, and I like the Costa Garcia fight, I'm going to keep some, but I still think I want to get underweight on it because I don't know who wins, and then they need their path to go right. So how do you see this one going down? I'm curious.
Yeah, just striker versus grappler matchup. But if you told me it was going to a decision, I'd really only have interest in the Selecki side because if Klose wins, I mean, if he just stuffs all the takedowns and keeps it on the feet, he could piece this guy up and score well, especially at that mid-range. But I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to be fighting off takedowns or getting taken down, spending a lot of time on his back where he's not scoring. and maybe Selecki wins the first round clearly, and then he starts to gas out, close, comes back, wins the second and third. I just don't think that he's going to be able to do enough with 2 rounds. I think he has to win all 3 rounds to have any chance of scoring well in a decision. But if Selecki wins, I think it's just domination on the ground where he could submit this guy in any round, or he could just take his back, hunt for submissions the whole time, control the fight for 12, 13 minutes, and put up a good score even in a decision win. So I definitely prefer Selecki. Also, if you tell me it's a 50-50 fight, one's a grappler, one's a striker, just give me the grappler most of the time. So I'm going to be on Selecki in this one. I really don't have much interest in Close. I think he's more in play for his knockout. So my plan is to cap his ownership at whatever his TKO odds are. When I was writing it up, it was like plus 300, which is 25%. So I'd have max 25% Close in my lineups, but I'd prefer less, like 15, maybe 10 to 15%, something like that. And I do think I'm going to get leverage on Selecki. I'll be overweight to him because I'm picking him to win. And if he gets it done early, man, he just breaks the slate right away with 98 points or whatever it is. But I think he could get more than 98 points if he just wins all 3 rounds on the ground. So I'd rather take the grappler in this one. Overweight to Selecki, underweight to Close.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense to me. I still think I'm going to be underweight on both, and I think a lot of that reason and why I was fading initially was I was picking Close to win, and I think Selecki's like if you tell me Selecki wins, I think he has a better chance at optimal probably than Close, but I think Close wins, and I think his path would be like a 3rd round. He stuffs all the takedowns, Selecki slows down, puts on the pressure, and just drowns them, something along those lines. But again, I think this is. Like, people are just going to land in this range, 12 fights especially, 8,300, 7,900, or someone has like 8,600 left. They're like, all right, let's get a little cute, get down to an 8,300 fighter, leave 300. Like, this fight can end up in your lineup in so many ways. So I'm going to try and limit my exposure, but I'm going to keep them in my pool. And yes, we did talk about that, Dakota. Thank you, though. Costa and Steve Garcia is canceled. They didn't even weigh in. I didn't look into any reason. I didn't hear. If anyone knows, but doesn't matter for this card. Let's keep it rolling. Yeah, and we'll touch on that, but I think it's very, very good comparison. The Gaslam Brady fight, 8,200 AK, 8,300, 7,900 in this fight. Gaslam striker, Close striker, Brady wrestler, Selecki wrestler. The Brady Gaslam fight, though, is expected to finish, especially the Brady side, good inside the distance prop. So I do expect that fight probably to be a little higher owned, but again, I'm just looking at Marley at this point. That this man knows the ownership game, and MMA is very tough to predict. So definitely we'll be checking that out. All of our content will be up, of course, this afternoon in MMA. Next fight on the card. Yeah, I'm excited for this one, and definitely interested to hear your take. Zach Reese, Cody Brundage, 9,300 Reese, 6,900 Cody Brundage, minus 230 is Reese, plus 195 is Brundage. This fight is minus 550 to finish. Reese minus 215, Brundage plus 325. This line open, Brundage the favorite, minus 155, Reese plus 135, and just got hammered right away to Reese sitting around pretty much what it's sitting at right now. I mean, Reese is 6-0, man, like contender series. He hasn't fought anybody. Definitely his biggest step up to date. But Cody Brundage, everyone's down on him from his last performance, obviously. Not even necessarily his performance that he was getting mauled, how he treated everyone after, including Big Marley himself. Obviously, that was the Jacob Alcoon fight, taken down, was getting beat up, back of the head. The rest is history. I don't know, though, man. This line feels – I just don't know about Zach Reese. Like, he's fought nobody. All of his wins have come in the first round. Now he's getting a big step up. Brundage just fought – solid UFC competition. What, this is eighth UFC walk. He hasn't looked great, but he is dangerous. I think it's a dog or pass on the money line. I'm definitely going to be playing some Brundage on DraftKings, and that's why at first I had Ehor as a fade. But what do you think Zach Reese's ownership will be compared to Bellado's, Armin's? Because the inside the distance prop's great. He's 300 less. Like, that's what I was thinking too. But I'll play some Zach Reese as well. I just love this fight. I think this is one of your other ones. It's all in. But what are your thoughts on Zach Reese? And then take it away. It's an important one.
Yeah, this is one I want to be close to all in on. I do think he'll be up there in the ownership as well. I was thinking maybe I'd start him at 38 or something like that and start moving it from there. But man, I mean, how is Brundage even fighting? This guy was like knocked out so bad to the back of the head, however many, not very long ago, but he's back already, huh? Yeah, I don't like anything about Brundage, to be honest with you. But Reese, he just hasn't had any experience because he goes in there and he just dominates everybody he fights and he finishes them in a minute or whatever it is. There's been some fights where he takes them down right away, finishes them in top control. There's some fights where he just goes out there and beats the hell out of them on the feet. There's no flaws that I saw in Reese's game, but there's just not enough footage to see those flaws yet. He's never been past one round, and that's a big worry, man. Every time these fighters come in from the regional scene and they've never been past a round, he might gas out. If Brundage can actually weather a storm and not be a little bitch, then maybe he can come back and beat this guy real bad in the second and probably finish him in the second or the third round. So I think Brundage is super in play as well. I would much rather have Reese. I'll start my lineups with Reese. But then if I need to go to Bellato and Armand, I'll be like, oh, shit, let's go down here to Brundage, see what I can do with my lineup now. It's just a fight I want to be heavy on. I think I'm going to pick Reese to go out there, finish him in the first round. But I have no idea what happens if that does not happen. I think it's likely that Brundage probably comes back and wins and scores well. So I'll probably have similar to that Bellato fight, like 50% Reese, 30% Brundage, something like that. I think those are two similar fights. Just not enough answers on this Reese guy yet. But from what he's shown me, he looks good in the limited film that I've seen, and that's more than I can say about Brundage. So give me Reese.
For sure. But what I can say about Brundage is the dude has a nasty guillotine. He tries. It can be to his detriment. And he knocked out Trayshawn Gore. He has some power. At least he's fought in the at this money line. It just has to be dog or pass for me. And then at the odds or at the pricing, I love Arman Sarukian. Bellato's right there, expensive. I'm definitely on the Brundage train. I'm gonna play Reese because everything I've seen looks good. I'm just hoping that he hasn't been tested. So I'm hoping Brundage can maybe test him and then figure something out. But yeah, we know how the story goes with Cody Brundage. Probably not. I'm on Cody though.
Yeah, last time I went 100% on a fighter, it was freaking Malkoon, so I'm still a little bitter.
Yeah, most definitely. And I hope people are though. I hope that makes people even not want to click his name even more. He's going to be low owned regardless, and you get leverage off of Reese, who's going to be pretty owned. So I'll be playing some Reese. I'm on Brundage side though. Next fight on the card: Julia Avila taking on Miesha Tate. Avila 8,700, Tate 7,500. Avila going to be one of the lowest owned fighters on the card, minus 140. Tate plus 120. But they're solid inside the distance profit. Avila at plus 220. Tate is plus 700. I don't think I'm going to get there. I would need more than 20 teams to play Avila, but I don't know. Plus 220 inside the distance at that ownership. I prefer Horth. I think a lot of it is because of the $200 savings, but what would you prefer? I think you're going to say this fight's awful. I don't want anything. But if you had to pick Horth or Avila, what's your lean on that?
If you're telling me Avila's lower owned, it's definitely her. But if you told me they're the same, I'd still go with Avila.
8,700. I just don't know. I just don't know who can click 8,700. She only can be so high owned at this price and this money line.
I was thinking she was 84 or something like that.
No, it's 87 at this money line.
87 is going to be harder to click on, I guess. My real answer is that I don't want this fight in most of my lineups. But watching Tate in her last fight, I just thought she looked so slow and just so washed. And one of the takedown attempts that Murphy got was just such a pathetic takedown defense from Tate, where I feel like Avila can do that in every single round. But we haven't seen Avila in 2 years. I think she just had a kid. I don't know what to expect from her either. So, yeah, my favorite thing to do with this fight is act like it's not going to happen, hope that Avila wins and scores 70 points, and then we're fine. But I feel like Tate can go out there and maybe just make it a close fight and win and still not get near 10x either. So I think it's a good fight where we can fade it and not be too worried. But at the same time, maybe Avila's just as washed and Tate can go out there and get a submission and score well. I think Avila could go out there and win all 3 rounds with wrestling. I think she's the faster, more powerful striker as well. I just think she has more ways to win this fight. I like Avila to win. I think that there's a little bit of value on her new line. So for me, it's mostly Avila or pass, with pass being my favorite option.
Yeah, she opened minus 250 Tate immediately got money, so then Avila was about minus 160, and slowly some money's been pouring in on Tate. Do you think Tate has any wrestling upside in this one, or you think Avila is just like, because my thought was 8,700 for Avila. I totally get it. Ownership play. Like, it's going to take me over 20 teams. I like 20 entry max. I think that's how people should play MMA. Showdown, I don't think that's a single entry sport. I don't think MMA is. There's enough cheap contests. Instead of doing a $5 single entry, do a nickel contest. So these dime contests, they can put more in. But besides that, or off on that tangent, what was I trying to get at? Oh, yeah, I would need more than 20 teams. I would need, because like 8,700 minus 140, I can't get there right now. But over, I could get. I mean, you just said she has wrestling upside. She'll be very low owned. On the Tate side, though, it's 7,500. Figgy right there. Like, she's going to be pretty low owned. Money line, I don't know how low owned, actually. I'm curious what you do there, because money line is good for the price, but finish equity is not. And it's a card you want upside. So I'm interested to see how the public treats it too.
Yeah, I think Tate will be a little bit over-owned, which is making me want to fade her. But I do think the best thing about her would be if she was in top control. That's where she wins the fight. That's where she can score well. I think the submission would be her real ceiling, because I just don't have any faith in her wrestling for 3 rounds. But her grappling, I think, would be the best part about her game. We've seen Avila kind of dominated on the ground against Eubank, so I think that is in play. But Tate might get 15, 20% ownership, and that's just too high for me. I would rather be 10 or less on Tate, I think.
I like it. Great stuff so far. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card. One of the biggest favorites, one of the highest priced. Punahele Soriano taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Soriano 9,400. Or Soriano 9,400. Stoltzfus 6,800. Soriano sitting about minus 330, plus 260, plus 270 on the way back for Stoltzfus. It's like minus 200 to finish. Soriano minus 155 inside the distance. Stoltzfus plus 650. How do you see this fight going down?
Yeah, for DraftKings, I kind of think it's knockout or bust for Soriano and submission or bust for Stoltzfus. I don't see either one of these guys having a chance at 90-plus points in a decision win, unless it's Soriano going out there getting multiple knockdowns in the course of a striking-based decision. But I don't like to count on that. I am interested in the Soriano side because I do think his striking edge is clear, and I think his power is real. I'm picking him to get a knockout, but that's the only way he scores well. I think Stoltzfus is going to have an easier time going out there and scoring 10x in a decision win, and that would include a couple takedowns and top control time. But I just don't like his wrestling enough to think that he can consistently control where this fight's going to take place, and I don't think he can control the fight on the ground for very long either. So I just think he's got to get the submission to win. So I'd rather take Soriano. I'll probably be around the field, probably a little bit lower, just because I don't like the knockout or bust type fighters, but I'm picking him to win with a first round knockout. So if that happens, he's going to be on the optimal lineup. I need to have a good amount of them, but probably like 30%, and I'd be fine with 10% Stoltzfus, something like that, where I want to get away from him. But if he keeps ending up in my lineups just by trying to get up to Arman and whoever else, then so be it. But he would be the 6th person in my hand builds rather than me like actually making it a point to target him.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I'm with Scary Creations. I'm passing. I'm fading this fight in 20 or less. I like Soriano at 9,500. I like Arman a lot more. I think in a Reese win, he has a lot more upside for 100 less. I like Bellato more for 200 more. I think Dustin can make fights a little boring, and I think Soriano pretty much is round 1 or bust. Like a round 2 knockout from Soriano it could be 95. Obviously it could be over 100. But I would think 95, something like that. And at 9,400, like give me Arman to outscore him or other guys around there. I need some fades up top. And as far as Dustin, I like Brundage upside more. Ihor, we talked about him, and this kind of goes back to it. Ihor fighting Bellato going to be way more popular than Soriano. So why not just get that leverage? And I think that's a better fight environment. So yeah, I'm passing this fight at the end of the day. If I had to bet it, I'd be on dog or pass. So I can't lay over minus 300 on Soriano, who he does have a wrestling background, but I'm not really sure. I mean, he seems like a pretty one-dimensional good striker. The dude throws bombs. So first round knockout is definitely in play. I'll be sweating for that first minute. But hey, maybe he knocks him out in a minute, 2 seconds, scores 103. I still think that might not be enough, but pretty fun fight maybe. Minus 200 to finish. Soriano throws bombs. It'll be interesting. Two grown-ass men in the cage, always pretty fun. Next fight on the card, it's still a decent amount left. Joaquim Silva taking on Clay Guida. Silva 9,100. Clay 7,100. Silva another big favorite, minus 305. Clay plus 255 on the way back. This fight's minus 170 to finish. Joaquim Silva minus 135 inside the distance. Clay Guida plus 650. I don't know, man. Clay Guida, all these old men just keep burning me. Like, they always got one last hurrah in them just to shove it to me. I think Joaquim Silva's got him everywhere. I mean, Clay's path to victory in this one. Do you see it the same way? And then I'll throw it to you on this question. He has to wrestle and be safe for 15 minutes on top.
Yeah, that's it.
So are you playing some and how much for that path?
He's a Stoltzfus type of play for me where I'm okay with 10%, something like that. If you told me this fight's going to go to a decision, it's Clay or pass. For just sure. Clay, and I want no Silva. Silva's won 2 decisions. He averages a little under 53 points in those decision wins. So it's finish or bust for Silva. He's just not striking enough minute to minute. He's not a wrestler. I actually think that I'm picking him by submission. I think Clay gets a takedown in the first round and he gets guillotined. But Silva has big-time power, too. He can put him away on the feet. Clay's been submitted like 11 times in his career. So that's just why I think that's coming eventually. This guy's nickname is Neto BJJ. He doesn't really show it. He's more of a striker, but he's got big-time power. He can knock him out. He can submit him. But it's got to be early. It's got to be first round, probably first round. Maybe second round's okay because I don't see Silva wanting to go out there and land takedowns. And if he's not landing the knockout on the feet, he's not going to be scoring well. So I don't know how much exposure I want to get to Silva. He's kind of, I don't know, this is just like the last fight. He's kind of like Soriano, where I'm fine being around field weight a little bit lower. And then Clay, it's just more of he's got to wrestle. But if he wins, he can score around 10x and maybe more. I just have a hard time seeing him win. So give me Silva by submission.
No, I'm with you on all of that. Like, he definitely has a ceiling to put up 110. Like, Clay's cardio, he'll be there for 3 rounds. If he gets that wrestling going, can chain him. I mean, it can get ugly fast if you don't have him, that is. It can get fun fast, too, if you do have him. 41 years old, though. All these pro fights, I think he's like 61 he's walking out to. So Silva's 34, but 16 pro fights, still ripped, athletic, like huge advantage on the feet, speed, power, can put him out that way. Clay does wrestle, like you said. He has to stay safe. Been submitted 11 times. Like, I think I just like Ihor more, especially knowing Pilato is going to be more popular. I know I like Brundage the most out of all these guys, but I'm going to add someone, and I think Ihor is going to be the one for the leverage and just the fight environment. Now, Silva, Soriano, why I lean Silva, and I look at him the same way like you, is just because of that $300 savings. Now, the last thing on this fight, I'll throw it to you. What do you think ownership-wise? Because if Silva's like 40%, I don't think he will be. But if he was, I would easily don't want to play him. Like, I'd be like 15%, since I do think he's allowed around 1 or bust. But if he's 25%, because he's right 100 less than Armin, I can sign up for that. Good inside the distance prop, good round 1 prop. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking closer to the 25, maybe a little bit north of that, in between 25 and 30 is probably why I'll have him. But yeah, I prefer Guida to Stoltzfus, I think.
Yeah.
And then, man, it's close. Like, so the way I have it going down, if my predictions are right, Soriano goes out there, gets a first-round knockout. Silva goes out there, gets a first-round submission. Soriano's going to outscore him, so I think I prefer Soriano. But either way, they both got to get the finish to score.
And I think Soriano will be lower owned, too. So we agree. I agree. I would like Clay more than Dustin, but I like the other side a little more. I like Silva more than Soriano. But I still like Armin way more in that range. Even though I'm picking Brundage to beat Reese, I think Reese's upside, like just that fight environment, that's what I like targeting. I like those guys more. Let's keep it rolling, though. Next fight on the card. This is one we talked about earlier, compared it to the close Selecki fight, right in the mid-tier. Sean Brady, Kelvin Gastelum, 8,200 Brady, 8,000 for Gastelum. Looking at the odds, minus 120 to minus 130. So again, pretty much the same odds, like Sheet said, plus 105, 110 for Gastelum on the way back. This fight's minus 140 to finish. Brady plus 210. Gastelum plus 230. All I will say is Kelvin Gastelum did make weight. That was something we were looking at. He's back down to 170. He looks good, man, at 170. And it's clash of styles. If Brady doesn't get it to the mat, it could look like that Bilal fight did. Gastelum definitely the better striker. But Brady's wrestling's legit too. Can Kelvin keep it on the feet? It's the big question. What do you think?
See, I kind of see this different. I think Brady can win a striking match. I do give.
It'd be boring, right? Like it'd be boring and score bad if you think he wins a striking match.
Yeah, it would just be Kelvin doing his thing where he just doesn't land volume and he just gets outstruck, and they give it to volume over damage type of thing. Because that's how I see it. I think Kelvin's the slightly better striker, more powerful, much more likely to get a finish. But if you told me we got a 3-round striking match, whatever idiot judges are watching this fight, I couldn't tell you who they're going to pick to win, but I think it's going to be Brady landing more strikes. He's got good boxing. I think he is a good striker. But I would pick him to land like 10, 15 more strikes than Gastelum over the course of 15 minutes.
I think it would still be, I mean, if you told me that, I would easiest fade of all time. I mean, I would, and then I would love the stars. I already like stars and scrubs. But, like, you're making me like this fight a little less than I did, and I don't even love the close Selecki fight. Like, Stars and Scrubs scream.
Yeah, I don't like this fight. And I think Gastelum, just the name alone, gets enough ownership. So, Gastelum, I think a full fade for me. I'm going to X him out of my player pool. He could get the knockout, and then I'll really pay for it. But if you tell me Gastelum's going to go out there and win a decision, I'm just not too worried about it. He's never been a scorer. He's never high volume. He's had, like, one good volume fight or maybe two in his whole career. He just likes to waste cage time. I don't like that. I think we got close to a pick'em fight on the feet, but the wrestling gives Brady the edge. Brady can score well in the decision here. So for me, it's Brady or pass.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense to me. I have a little more interest in Kelvin because I think he does have more of a striking advantage. I think he has power, but I prefer Brady with the wrestling. He was my pick, and I prefer him in DFS because, like you said, if it's a decision, it could be 6 takedowns, 12 minutes of control. He does have that kind of upside with the wrestling, whereas Kelvin would be on the feet and wouldn't score well there. So I do prefer Brady. Again, I'm curious to see ownership, though. Kelvin, he has that name, but he just doesn't really score that great. So it'll be interesting. More I talk about it, though, Stars and Scrubs build, I like more than those two mid-tier fights. What's up, Jackie Paper? Very nice of you. Hope everything going well. Couple fights left, and you mentioned if Gastelum does knock him out, hey, at least it's the back half of the cards. You already thought you were live for a little bit. Hopefully you were actually live for a little bit. Then you can maybe go to bed. But let's keep it rolling. 4 fights left. Next fight on the card. 3 fights left, excuse me. Banger, 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 these next 3. Rob Font, Davison's Figueiredo, 8,800. Font, 7,400 for Fig. Fig making his bantamweight debut. Font's coming in minus 135, Fig plus 110, minus 140 for this fight to finish. Both Font and Fig plus 210 inside the distance. So I'll throw it to you. What do you see in this fight? But I want your thoughts. Again, ownership will be up. It's not done right now. But what do you think ownership on this fight? Because that's important.
Damn, yeah, this one's tough. I think
this is my thoughts.
The line moving in Figueiredo's favor, I think, makes Figueiredo more popular. Probably start around 25%, a little something like that on Figueiredo. Man, Font's the hard one. I think Font kind of goes overlooked because of the new line. So Font probably like 15, maybe a little 18%.
I'm scared it's like Font 16 and like Fig 35. Like I'm scared the scheme can get like that with the name, like the price. Like, I don't know how many people want to click Dariush, which is the big thing. It's the main event dog. Like, if it was one of those close fights, like an Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, or like something like that. But I just don't, man. I could see him getting 35. But keep it rolling because there's a lot of reasons to like Fig, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, shit, if you told me 30, that changes things, though.
I don't know. That's definitely aggressive. If I doubt anywhere in the industry has it projected that much, but we see ownership wrong all the time. And just at that price, that name, the odds, the finishing odds. Like, I mean, if it's a dog or pass for me in this one, I'll just, my quick breakdown, I think Font's the minute winner. 2 red flags. Durability for Font. I think the power carries for Fig. That's the least of my worries. And we just saw the wrestling and his get up game. It was on short notice, but Sandhagen, it was cake. 7 for 7. Fig can shoot takedowns. Like, I think Font has him with the jab and the movement for minutes, but 15 minutes to stay safe. But then my prediction, look at DFS and ownership. It's got to be Font. He lands 5.7 significant strikes per minute. Like, if he wins, the volume's there, good inside the distance prop, leverage off a chalk. So that's why we talk through it and all this stuff. What you think, what I think, to some point becomes irrelevant between ownership numbers at the end of the day. So I don't know. Pick his Fig, probably more Font DFS.
So for me, it's the metrics are what put me on. Well, not on Figueredo. I'm picking Font to win, actually. But I was making Figueredo my preferred DraftKings play because he's got the value with the salary. He's more likely to finish. He could get the finish on the feet or the ground.
I was surprised to see it. I was surprised to see it the same inside the distance prop. Plus 210.
Yeah, some books have them not favored, but more likely.
Or more likely, yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like the metrics put you on Figueredo, but if that pushes him up to 35%, then really I want to be way lower than that. At 25%, I'd probably want to match the field. But if you're telling if he is going to be 35, I think I'd go to 15.
That number was aggressive, but I think it's probably let's meet in the middle at 30.
Yeah, 30. Let's say 30. I'll probably go right around 30 then.
Yeah.
30. And still, that's high. That's a little too high for me because the way I see the fight playing out is Figueredo does not wrestle very much. So I don't think that that's a clear edge that we can give him. If he did decide that this is the one he's going to go out there, shoot 10 takedowns, then maybe we could even favor him. I like him even more, but I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to have mostly a striking match here. I like Font to be the bigger, longer, faster, higher volume striker. And when Font wins, man, he puts up 100 most of the time. So the lower his ownership gets, the more I like him. The higher Figueredo's ownership gets, the less I like him. But when I was writing up the fight, I said Figueredo's my preferred play. I'd rather just have that salary. I'd rather take his his inside the distance line over Font's. But the more we talk about it, I think I'm going to have to change that. Now Font is my preferred play. I'm picking him to win. But my issue is I'm picking him to win a unanimous decision. If he wins a decision, 8,800, that's where he's at, right? 8,800?
Yeah.
That's tough. I think he probably scores around 80 in a decision win. But I think he's in play for a knockout too, man. Figueredo fought the same guy the last 4 fights.
That's insane.
Now he's moving up in weight. How motivated is this guy really? How's he look at this weight class? I think he could get finished here. So yeah, the more we talk about it, the more I'm on Font. Actually, yeah. I'm gonna change that in the notes.
You and I were 100%. We ended up the same way. Like you picking Font, I'm picking Figgy. We both see like our initial thoughts. Figgy, like if ownership was the same or whatever, I think Figgy's the better play there. I'm just scared about the steam. I know Font's going to be low owned, awful money line equity. The price is up there. Finishing out's fine, but like I said, there's clear path for Font on the optimal. He overwhelms him with speed and volume. Then he can put Figgy away. He can drown him. That jab for Font, the length he'll have, I can totally see it too. I mean, Font absolutely printed for us last time against Adrian Yanez. Yeah, I'm picking Figgy though, but I'll probably have more Font DFS. Great talk there. And again, very curious on ownership. You tell me he's 25%, I can get overweight on Figgy and I'll feel good about it. 35% changes the whole thing. That's the game we play. It's an ownership salary game over here. 2 fights left on the card, 2 absolute bangers, like I said. Jalen Turner, Bobby Green, 8,900 for Turner, 7,300 for Bobby Green. Looking at the odds, Turner minus 200 at most spots. I see Bet Online down to minus 180. Bobby Green somewhere between minus 155, Bobby Green plus 155 to plus 170. This fight's minus 160 to finish. Turner plus 105. Bobby Green plus 400. Props / shout out Jalen Turner. Not like he'll ever listen or hear this, but he made weight on short notice and he cuts a lot of weight. So awesome to see there. It was a big worry for many. Still, I think I'm still a little bit worried. I mean, we saw it in the Hooker fight. Like if Bobby can survive early and start feeling himself, putting him on him, I think it could kind of be like the Fizzy fight. where Fiziev slowed down. Bobby won round 3. It was close. It was a close fight. If Turner slows down short notice, he doesn't get him out of there early. I think Bobby's very, very live. Again, I do expect him to get some ownership. Another guy similar to, I guess, Rob Font in a different way, but he throws a lot of volume. Just a striking guy. The price, though, if he wins, I think scores fine. I got Turner in round 1, though, but I'll be looking for a live bet for Bobby Green here. But I think the value or the length, the speed, the power, I think he catches Bobby at some point. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm picking Turner because the length, the speed, the power on the feet. I like him to have a small kind of striking edge. But I think he's a better grappler. I think he's more likely to go out there to land takedowns. So he has more ways to win, more ways to finish, more ways to score well. So I definitely like Turner. Turner has 6 UFC wins, and he's averaging 116 DraftKings points in those wins. And then Bobby Green, I only had my phone to look at, but he has 5 wins on his fight log. It only went back that far. He's got more UFC wins than that, but he's got 5 wins on his fight log. In those 5 wins, he's averaging 110 DraftKings points. So I just think it's a great fight to target. Both guys have huge upside, and it is a close fight. If it is going to be a striking match, it's close. And I think that if it's a decision, give me Bobby Green on my team because I think that's how this fight doesn't make the optimal lineup. Turner goes out there, scores 80 in a decision win, and just doesn't make it. But any win from Bobby Green probably gives him a good chance at the optimal. Should be over 10x. But all those 100-plus point scores, man, I think either one of these guys could go out there and get a finish. I want to load up on this fight. I put it as a 4-star on my notes, but I might push it up to a 5-star. I'm gonna have to wait till I do my lineups and see like how much this actually does make my pool. But it's a 4 or 5-star fight for me. I love it. I'm picking Turner to win though.
Yeah, I like it. I'm picking Turner to win. If ownership was relatively similar, though, I like Bobby Green and the savings more. Obviously, you need to play some dogs, especially like Fig. If we're expecting that ownership, the guys down there, I think probably I might end up with a little more Bobby. Turner's so dangerous round 1, though. Great fight. I like it, too. A great fight to target, but you do see pass, a Turner third-round knockout, Turner decision win. There is pass. It doesn't get there. Great fight, though, to target. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Last fight on the card, main event time. Appreciate everyone still hanging out with us. If you got this far, we do truly appreciate you. Hit that like button. Bet you guys already did, though, if you're still watching. Arman Sarukian, Beneil Dariush, 9,200 for Arman, 7K for Dariush. Looking at the odds, Arman around minus 300, Dariush plus 250. This fight is minus 180 to finish. I see minus 165 at some books. Was minus 200 earlier in the week, so some money coming in on decision. Looking at the finishing odds, Arman minus 115, Dariush plus 425. I'm a huge Arman guy. Think he's a total stud every single way. Striking keeps improving. Young, wrestling's nasty. The line does feel a little wide, though, man. Like Dariush, he's got power. I mean, the grappling, I don't know. I'm not too worried about the grappling in this matchup. I think Arman can stay safe on top. I definitely prefer Arman, but Dariush isn't. What do you think? I guess Dariush's ownership is going to be, because I'm thinking 20, but maybe even like 18, 17. And Arman's going to be very popular. And if that's the case, and maybe not very, but I think Arman will probably be 55, and we'll have Dariush at 18, 19. And if that's the case, and I know it's probably going to be more aggressive than we have it. You've been a lot better at ownership projections than me. So definitely look at Marley and what we got on the site. But if that's the case, I don't know. I'll probably have 20% Dariush. I definitely like Arman, though. And I'll eat chalk there. But what are your thoughts on ownership and then break down this one?
I'll probably start ownership around 50% Arman, 25% Dariush, something like that. And I think that's probably close to where I'll be as well. I do like Arman in this one. I bet him last week at minus 185. I lined him 70 to 75%. So I got value on both sides of my line at 185, but now he's at the top of that range. So I don't think there's any value anymore in him. I think the line is right, or even a little too wide at this point. But I like Arman to have the striking edge. If there's a knockout, I like Arman to be the one getting it. I think Arman's the better wrestler of the two. But Benny's a better grappler. And if Benny's landing takedowns, Arman could be in trouble. Whereas if Arman's landing takedowns, it's him staying in top control, and Benny would be in trouble with ground and pound rather than getting submitted, I think. And this is another one where it's like, if I'm Arman's coach, I'm just telling him to go out there, strike for 5 rounds, man. Just take your time, win on the feet. You should win four rounds, I'd say, out of 5, if that's what happens. But if he does win that way, that's how this fight doesn't end up on the optimal lineup. Arman goes out there, scores 85 points in a 5-round striking match, and it just doesn't cut it, knocks out 50% of the field. 25% on Benny are dead too. So I do want lineups without this fight for that reason. But Arman is like minus 130 inside the distance. Most of that's his TKO odds. I just think that he's got a lot of ways to score well. If he does mix in the wrestling, even in a decision, he's probably scoring 100 points. So I'm going to be heavy on Arman, 50+%. He'll be a core play for me. And then I'm going to have hedges on Benny, mostly because, I got this big bet already on Arman. And if Benny wins, Benny's on the optimal lineup. I don't think there's any question about that. No matter how he wins, he could win by knockout. He could win by submission. He could win a decision, to be honest with you. So any win from Benny should be enough. And I don't want to be under the field on that. So I'll match the field at least on Benny.
Yeah, you and I are thinking pretty similar. Like I'm confident Arman winning. So I think like if Benny wins, he's going to be optimal. I think the ownership's going to be in check, and it's great leverage off of Arman. So all of that's going to make me get some, even though I think he loses and gets steamrolled. But Arman, yeah, there is definitely paths where he just keeps it on the feet. Even a 3rd-round knockout, if he only lands 2 takedowns before that, plenty of other people in the 9K range can outscore him there. So, yeah, it's not an all-in fight for me. And we even see it like Brendan Allen. I wrote it up a little bit in the slate plan, but Brendan Allen dominated Paul Craig. He scored 86 points, 3rd-round finish. He did everything he needed to do. Wasn't even 83. I don't even know what it was, but wasn't close to the optimal. You can have performances like that. So there is sometimes I go all in on fights because you also need to give yourself a better chance to win sometimes. If you want to make bigger stands, you're confident. If you don't make any stands, you got to hope to get lucky. So I think there's a fine line, though. I'll probably be somewhere 70%, I don't know, 70, 60% Arman, 10 to 15% Dariush at the end of the day is my guess. Because I'll say that I do know Arman is going to beat Beneil, even though I should not be. That's what I try not to do and what we try not to do at the end of the day. But what are your final thoughts, Big Marley? It was fun talking fights as always.
Yeah, interesting card. It was fun talking it out with you. I'll have all my shit posted over at SHIPITNation.com. I'm going to get ownership done. I'm going to go home and hope that my internet's on so I can do it there. But if not, I'll come back here. I'll get it up in the next couple hours. I'll update my notes. Everything will be posted. I'll get my core plays posted. But good luck to you. Good luck to everybody listening. Hope we ship it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be we got it. First of all, if you ever come back at that house, you do have to throw a dart for us. So warm up before the show if that's your setup. But all the content will be up. Mine will be up before NBA lock as well. Couple hours though. It'll all be up. Ownership, projections, slate plans, fight rankings, everything you need. Get in the Discord too. We do have a weekly package if you want to do that, $25 a month. No Discord access, everything else though. Otherwise, monthly, 6-month, annual. Do get in the Discord if you do join. NBA show today as well on the Mayo Media Network. NFL this weekend. A lot of money to be made. 100K up top, 4 p.m. Eastern. Austin, Texas, if anyone's going. I am extremely jealous. Hope we get even half the card we got last time. They were at the Moody Center. Good luck this weekend, Marley. Good luck, everybody out there. For Big Marley, I'm Titletown. Have a good one.